Hi everyone, it's Lidia's Kiddies here, and today we're going to talk about pyramids. So, pyramid is a toy you probably would need for a fairly short period of time, and that's why I just wanted to show you one. That's the only one I've got, the only one I'm using, and you really don't need anything bigger than that. This is really quite small, just sort of the size of the hand, and you can get bigger ones, smaller ones, of course, but generally you would only use them for a short period of time. There is one motion that you want to make sure your kid knows how to do. And there are some musical versions as well. That's probably the only musical toy I would suggest buying. But if you want to get, simple one is absolutely fine. This is a wooden one, which is really nice. But if you want to get a plastic one, if you want to get a music one, that's totally fine as well. So how do we play with the pyramid? It's relatively straightforward. You take rings off, you put them back on in the right order. You want to demonstrate it to the child, so you take them off one by one, you put them back together one by one. You can do it by size, you can do it by colors, and so forth. Normally what happens though is that once you give this toy to a child, they do the following. They take the top one off, they take the second one off, and then they grab it and they flip it over. And all the rings fall off, and at that point, parents usually conclude that their child has mastered it all, and it's all amazing, and they even learned a very efficient way of taking the rings off. All right, so instead of taking each one of them off, they basically just flip it all over and it all falls out. Now, what we really want to see in this exercise, and that's the key part of playing with a pyramid, is the ability of a child to actually lift the rings up. Because what happens is normally if you don't have it sort of fixed in the base, so what you really want to do is to hold it when you're playing with your child with it to start with, is to see this motion. You want it to be a very clear upward movement and taking the block off. Again, very clear upward motion and taking it off, because otherwise what happens is if you introduce it to a child who hasn't learned this motion, and notice that each time the ring has to travel more and more to be taken off the base, you'd see that kids start pulling it to the side because they haven't actually learned the idea that with each and every single step you have to make this a longer and longer upward movement, and then you're able to take them off. And similarly goes for putting them down, right? It needs to travel all the way down. You take the second one, you position it correctly with the hole. That's important to show to the baby that this what should be aligned with the actual thing you put it on, and you bring it back down and so forth. So it's just an example of playing with the pyramid. It's a very simple one. Really good for little babies. You can already start showing it to them wearing the bouncer and still can't really play with anything. And trust me, once the time comes for them to play it, they will remember the movements and they will be able to copy it. So yeah, something like that. Just make sure you hold it in the base and make sure you really practice those movements of lifting it up and then removing it rather than trying to pull it or flipping it over. That's it for the pyramids for now. Thank you very much. I'll link some of the products that I think might be suitable in the description so you can have a look and decide for yourself which one you like.